Matt, thank you very much indeed for joining us today. This is not going to make happy reading for the Prime Minister over the weekend, is it?
No, this is not happy reading at all. Rishi Sunak and the Conservatives are still 24 points adrift of Keir Starmer and the Labour Party. It doesn't look like the Prime Minister is turning around the political equivalent of the Titanic. When we look at those all-important questions about things like the economy, the NHS, and now cleaning up sleaze in British politics after the Nadine Zahawi case, I mean, he is not connecting currently with the British public. Everybody is pretty fed up, actually, with how things are working in the country, and they're taking it out on the government.
In terms of connecting with the British public, a lot of Tory MPs, a lot of Tory voters would say, well, you need Boris Johnson for that. Yet the poll, you've asked whether there is support for Boris Johnson returning to the Cabinet. It doesn't seem to be there.
It's not there, Stephen. We've asked to what extent, if at all, do you support Boris Johnson returning to the Cabinet, and only about 1 in 5 of all voters are supportive of the former Prime Minister returning. A much larger number, almost half, say not really up for Boris Johnson returning. And, you know, I think basically in my mind, what we're looking at here is actually a collapse of confidence in all of our political leaders, on the left, on the right. Even if you look at somebody like Keir Starmer, who's leading Labour, which is well ahead in the polls, his net ratings are still pretty flat. I think a lot of people are looking at politics today and just saying, I'm not sure anybody really has the answers for these big problems that are facing the country. I'm not sure anybody's got a long-term vision for the economy, for the NHS, for the cost of living crisis. They're certainly not overawed by the idea of bringing back Boris. So even though that's a very popular idea on the Conservative fringes among some Conservative activists, when it comes to the wider country, actually, I think Boris and his team have still got a lot of work to do if they're planning on this comeback.
We're also looking at the classic situation after a party has been in power for a very long time, that in general, just to back up what you're saying, people are weary of what is going on in politics at the moment, weary of the present government and the present team, and actually, regardless of what they might feel about the opposition, they're just ready for a change.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head. When we ask people about this notion of change, large majorities say they're ready for a change. They want to change. They're not sure what that change is going to look like, but they're profoundly disappointed with where things have ended up. I mean, we had another poll a few weeks ago that asked people, do you think Britain's in decline? 7 in 10 of us said, yeah, we think the country's in decline, and only a quarter of us think our children are going to have better lives than we've had. So there's a pessimism setting in, and I think there are lots of reasons to be optimistic, actually, about where we are. You know, you can put inflation starting to come down. We're turning the corner on the energy crisis. The end of 2023 is going to look a lot different from the beginning of 2023. There's a lot of reasons, actually, I think personally, to be a bit optimistic about where we are. But the country aren't feeling really any of that. They are taking it out on the incumbent government. They're saying, look, you've been in power for 12 years. The country's like this. You've failed to solve these issues. And unless things change, we're not just looking at a tight election, which could be as early as spring 2024. We're looking at a complete wipeout for the incumbent Conservative Party. It will be even a bigger wipeout, potentially, than 1997. And some of your viewers will remember that. So we are living again through pretty historic times here.